Why isn't she answering? What's up? Let me call her.
Sorry, this person can come to the phone right now. Please try again or leave a message at the beep.
What?
Have you ever felt like you're not as productive as you want to be, but you can't actually bring yourself to get some work done? You try, and sometimes you're even in a good mood to start, but there's this sick feeling in your chest, making you not want to touch anything that has to do with work for the next 2 weeks. But the work keeps piling up on your desk, making you even more frustrated with existence itself. Then you, my friend, are burnt out. Part 1: To burn oneself out.
In this video, I'm going to give you the definition of burnout, tell you how it impacts us personally and professionally, and finally, we're going to explore the consequences of being exposed to it for long periods of time. Fatigue, frustration, or apathy resulting from prolonged stress or intense activity is what burnout is defined as. The verb phrase to burn until fuel is exhausted is where it originates. This was extended metaphorically by the middle of the 19th century to mean to exhaust one's energy, ideas, etc. through overwork, or to burn oneself out. A month ago, I stumbled upon a Reddit post about signs of burnout, and the comments were a little troubling.
Wait a minute. Who are you?
Then again, this is just another day on Reddit. However, to really understand this definition of burnout and how it relates to work life balance, let's watch this instructional video. Burnout as a phenomenon has probably existed since forever and in many cultures, but it's not until recent times the matter of occupational burnout is quickly becoming a trending topic. Historically, Graham Greene was the first author to use the term burnout in his novel, A Burnt Out Case in 1960, when describing the story of an architect who found neither meaning in his profession nor pleasure in life. The ICD-11 describes occupational burnout as an occupational phenomenon resulting from chronic workplace stress that hasn't been successfully managed, with symptoms characterized by feelings of energy depletion or exhaustion, increased mental distance from one's job, feelings of negativism or cynicism related to one's job, and reduced professional efficacy. Now, I know all of that sounded like a big bowl of mushed up unintelligible jargon, but I'll go ahead and simplify. Occupational burnout is the feeling you get when you're constantly and continuously feeling too exhausted to do your job, usually a reaction to prolonged stress. Also, that's what that means. Yes. Let me tell you an anachronistic story. Anita had always wanted to be a medical doctor. She got a scholarship to attend Harvard Medical School and took her opportunity seriously. Anita made sure she went to all her classes, did every single assignment, and made sure her research projects were sublime. Fast forward, 4 years later, Anita's bagged a degree summa cum laude with the highest honors. Anita is working as a medical assistant now, and it's been 6 months since she got the job, but she can't find that passion or drive that she once had as a pre-med student. All of a sudden, she started finding it hard to get out of bed and go to work in the morning. What she dreamed of doing all these years has started to feel like a chore. So la nasaret pa a Anita. In a 2023 article on stress in the workplace, statistics show that 89% of workers had experienced burnout in the past year. Why is this, and why does it impact us? Well, the feeling of burnout may often be overlooked because of the rise and grind hustle culture. but it has significant influence on our physical health, mental health, and our relationships. If it's that important, why do we keep getting burnt out? Why don't we work less or leave work early to take a break or just get work from home jobs? Okay, can you just watch this video to the end? Okay. Sorry. Yeah, burnout is a common experience today because the world has become incredibly fast paced. Although everyone experiences stress in demanding work environments, some people tend to be more susceptible to being burnt out than others. Ding ding ding, it's the perfectionists and high achievers. Therefore, burnout is not a personal problem, but a consequence of certain characteristics of a person's work activity.
Part 2. Feeling tired lately.
Now, we've talked about what burnout is and how it creeps up on you. Let's discuss the root causes of burnout. The rise of burnout plus the productivity economy equals the always on culture. Let me break it down. With everything available with only a click of a button in today's fast-paced world, we are inundated with notifications, emails, and texts all the time. Continuous barrage of information like this craves continuous consumption, which can then on lead to something called digital fatigue. Digital fatigue entails feeling worn out both physically and mentally from staring at screens for extended periods of time, working online, or using social media. This issue is largely caused by the 24/7 work culture made possible by contemporary technology. The lines separating our personal and professional lives have been blurred as a result of our constant access to work via laptops and cell phones. Because of this ongoing accessibility, we can find ourselves feeling pressured to reply right away, even during ostensible downtime or checking our emails at all hours of the day. At this point, it's hard to draw the line between what is work and what is play. For our minds, anyways. To understand the evolution of technology, let's take a look at this chart from the World Economic Forum. Our history of technology began 3.4 million years ago with the first recorded usage of stone tools. Each turn of the spiral then represents 200,000 years of history. It took roughly 2.4 million years, 12 turns of the spiral, for our ancestors to control fire and use it for cooking. Talk about feeling the burn. 12,000 years later, our ancestors welcomed the invention of the wheel, agriculture, and writing. Even though technology was advancing more quickly during this time, these three inventions were separated by several millennia. This is important. From then on, technology developed rapidly through many other major inventions. Take the history of communication, for example. We went from writing on slabs to paper, to the printing press, to the telegraph, to the telephone, to radio, all the way to the internet and smartphones. In 1903, the Wright brothers' historic first flight took off, which lasted less than a minute. 66 years later, we touched down on the moon. A lot of people witnessed both the first plane and the moon landing in their lifetime. It's easy to underestimate how much the world can change within a lifetime. Similarly, it's hard for us to imagine the arrival of all those technologies that will fundamentally change the world we are used to. And then comes the invention of the computer. If you look at the evolution of computers, you'll be met with a series of information telling you the first computers ever were an abacus, a loom, and well, this weird Greek thing. But for the sake of this video, we're diving straight into the mid-1900s to witness the birthing of the first programmable, electronic, general-purpose digital computer completed, the ENIAC. The creation of the ENIAC was revolutionary, but little did we know that it would usher us into an era where people now use computers to work at any place and any time. We cannot, of course, give grace to the accessibility of information by computers without the internet. The purpose of information and communication technology in the workplace is to support employees, improve their output, and foster greater teamwork. Nonetheless, research revealed that workers are growing irritated with the widespread usage of technology at work. Because employees can access them from anywhere at any time, the enhanced connectedness brought about by technology has become burdensome for them. Basically, the reason people are feeling more burnt out than in the past is because we spend too much time on our devices, whether that's replying work emails past open hours or doom scrolling on Instagram, trying to catch up with what influencers have been up to for the past 3 months. I hate to break it to you guys, but our African moms were right. Being on your phone is the cause of all your problems, even corruption and the current state of the economy. Yeah, I said it. In this Time article on why we're more exhausted than ever, it states that people are so fatigued that they are cutting out activities that used to be commonplace and low stress, like working out or going to the supermarket. Factor in recovering from the pandemic, inflation, and global stressors, and you've got a recipe for complete physical, mental, and emotional exhaustion. Now, we know the usual signs of burnout. However, I would argue that the consequences are also the signs of burnout. Therefore, by the time you see the signs, it's already too late. Stay with me on this part because it's about to be a whole lot of scientific jargon. A study was conducted on a number of participants to record the consequences of burnout. There was a group exposed to burnout and another group not exposed to it. Results were taken in both cases in order to compare the outcomes. The scientists made sure to include follow-up time so we could see how cases fared after exposure and made sure the response rate to the experiment and follow-up was above 50%. The last criteria for conducting this experiment to investigate consequences of burnout was to include only studies that reported minimal control for age or health conditions. Among the 993 selected studies, only 36 met all three methodological quality criteria. 10 studies reported psychological consequences, 12 studies reported occupational consequences, and 2 reported both physical and psychological consequences. The studies were mainly conducted in Nordic countries in Europe, but it also includes studies from Israel, China, Japan, South Africa, and the United States. A variety of occupations were investigated, such as dentists, forest industry employees, nurses, teachers, human service workers, and financial services employees.
Part 3. Red pill or blue pill?
Firstly, under physical outcomes, reported years of burnout resulted in cardiovascular diseases, obesity, type 2 diabetes, large waist circumference, and high cholesterol, to name a few. It's important to note that some studies research burnout as a risk for gastrointestinal issues, respiratory problems, and mortality below the age of 45 years. So while you're thinking you can just rush and do it all before you're 40, and then you can dive straight into retirement and big chilling, think again. Secondly, under psychological outcomes, the results were insomnia and depressive symptoms. Burnout was a predicator of hospital admissions due to mental disorders over a 10-year period among Finnish forest industry employees. Finally, lower levels of job satisfaction, absenteeism, new disability pension, job demands, and presenteeism were some of the investigated outcomes recorded under occupational consequences. While absenteeism means one's absence from work, presenteeism poses a phenomenon whereby people come to work even when sick, leading to a loss of productivity. Back to absenteeism. Employees who scored in the top quartile of the burnout scale missed more days from work, an average of 13.6 days annually, than those who scored in the low quartile, 5.4 days. These are the results of the first comprehensive study of the prospective effects of occupational burnout. Nevertheless, there is still room for research in low and middle income countries that do not have well-structured health services, state-of-the-art technologies, and where working conditions are still subpar. So, how can we work effectively with computers and ethically while avoiding working ourselves to exhaustion? Or is that even possible? At this point, you've watched this video till the end. I'm sure you're looking for some practical advice on how to beat this modern epidemic and get back to kicking butt at the office. In that case, I implore you to seek out the service of a healthcare professional. What? You thought I had the solution? Need I remind you, this is a 20-something-year-old girl's YouTube channel. You're the Lulu if you think that I can give solid medical or health advice. With that being said, I do have a reputation in the outside world for believing one can better themselves with proper self-care in less precarious situations such as this one. So I'll leave you with only what I hope is a helpful conclusion. In my opinion, the only way you can handle something traumatic such as burnout is by acknowledging that it affects you. Acknowledging that you've been exposed to it is the first step in working through it. Remember, this is real life and there are only 24 hours in the day. You cannot work 2 8-hour shifts Monday to Sunday, 365 days in the year and expect not to get exhausted in some way. You're not Captain Man or Wonder Woman, and you don't need to become them to be happy or successful. I definitely recommend you watch Philosophy Tube's video on Ancient Therapy for Modern Problems, Stoic Philosophy Explained. Sometimes you just have to take a step back, prioritize rest in these times, and do things that cater to your soul and well-being. Use those 6 days. Go to therapy. Stop and seek help. Do not pay 200 and pass go trying to hit all your self-imposed metrics by an unrealistic deadline. You need a break. This is all for now, my dears. Thank you so much for sticking around, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Do not forget to subscribe. Until next time.
The research done in this video is not peer-reviewed or approved in its totality by any regulatory board. These are just my findings, and none of it is to be taken as mental health advice. That being said, this channel is run completely without funding or support from Patreons, so please like and subscribe if you find this content helpful or entertaining.